Hello guys, I am Devendu and in this video we will discuss about the one of the most interesting and useful thing in React, and that is JSX. JSX stands for JavaScript XML and it is a syntax extension to JavaScript. And in our React tab, everything you see similar to HTML, these all are actually JSX. You may think we already had HTML in the first place, so why do we need to learn this type of HTML looking syntax called JSX? So if you just see this web page, we have only three divs and one is root, and inside the root we have two divs. One has class name of child1 and another one has class of child2. Suppose you wanted to build the similar type of website with the help of only JavaScript. So you need to write more than 10 lines of JavaScript code just like this. So if you wanted to build something more complex website structure, then the JavaScript code will be so long that you can't even manage them properly. And reading this type of JavaScript code and understanding the actual structure of this code maybe sometimes become more complex than you think. So here comes the use of JSX. And by the help of JSX, we can completely reduce this long code just by this HTML looking syntax. And this code is so much easy to understand rather than this long JavaScript code. So what we have run so far, JSX stands for JavaScript XML and it is a syntax extension for JavaScript. And JSX allows us to write HTML element in JavaScript and place them in the DOM without any create element or append child method. And here you can see we use create element and append child method. But for JSX we don't need these create element and append child methods. One of the most important reason for using JSX is that the React developers always try to place the logic and the representation in the same file so that it will be easier for the developers to code faster and efficiently without switching between the different files. You don't actually need JSX for writing React application every time, but JSX makes it easier. The JSX is compiled by the Babel down to the React.createElement calls. And Babel is also a package of npm. Babel actually compiles the JSX and create react.createElement, and you can see in the createElement method it actually creates the HTML elements and it takes some parameters called, and for now we are creating a div, so we are passing div and we are giving class name and root. So in the second parameter in the curly braces we are passing class name and root, and the last parameter that we are passing is our text actually what inside our div. And eventually what the react.create element does that it's create similar type of object, and by this object react dom can identify where to include some div or where to include some elements. Okay, so I think enough for the theory portion, just dive into the coding part. As you can see, I am in the index.js of our React app and I am just deleting this component called app. We will discuss this later, but just for now, let's focus in the JSX. So I'm just writing hello, and this is actually JSX. Just deleting this app component import. So if I save this file and just refresh this, so you can see we get hello. We can even write more complex code just like this. And save this, and you can see we get the similar type of web page we have seen in the presentation. I have already copied the CSS in the index CSS file, so this is why we are seeing these colors. We can even store the whole JSX into one variable, so I am just initializing one variable called element, and in this I am just copying this. So I initialize a variable named element, and in the element I stored the whole JSX, and I am just giving the element name, actually the variable name called element. And if I just save this code, and you can see we exactly get the similar output. You can also pass some variable name inside a JSX. Similarly, I am written on JSX, and inside the div I written my name is, and in the curly braces we can write any JavaScript code, or we can give any JavaScript variable name also. And in this case I am just giving our variable name called name. And if I just save this and go to the output of the web page, you can see there's written my name is Devindu, and the Devindu is actual our variable value. So if I just change to Devindu to Devindu Dash and just save this, you can also see it's changed to Devindu Dash. Always remember that if you wanted to write some JavaScript code or pass any JavaScript variable inside on JSX, we always need this curly braces. Inside the curly braces, we actually run or write any JavaScript code. We can even write one function inside this. I initialize one function sum, and it's take two parameters a and b and return their sum a plus b. So I also written inside my JSX div sum colon, and inside the curly braces we can actually run one function, and I am just giving 2 for the sum function. And if I save this and go for the output, you can see it's printing 4. And if I just change it to 100 to 100, just save this and go for the output, you can see actually the function actually runs and then printing the output of the function. As you can see, I created two variable child1 and child2, and each element has its own JSX child1 and child2. So if I wanted to put this child1 and child2 variable inside my rendering JSX div, so in the curly braces just write the variable name, and for the second element just like one again curly brace and just write child2. And if you save this and go for the output, you can see I am root child1 and child2 successfully rendered. You can create any component with the help of JSS just like this. I am creating one image component, and with the src I am giving a file path name and also an anchor tag. I am giving an anchor tag with the reference of reactjs.org, and a text go to the react.js website. And I am creating one more variable, and in the variable I am including the image and anchor tag. And you can see I actually wrap these two element inside the outer div. So if I just remove the outer div, just see the magic, it's giving me some error. And if I save this and go for the output, you can see there's a error too. So why this error occurs? This error occurs because we can't return multiple JSX, or we can't return multiple component of JSX at once, so that we need to just wrap our multiple components into one outer component. And in my case I am just using the div, and there's another way to perform this kind of a task, and we will discuss this later. For just of now, just know that we need to wrap multiple components for returning. If you see the output of this code, you can see one image file and one link, and this is exactly what we have added, one image and one anchor tag. We all know that HTML and JSX syntax are quite similar, but there is some difference. Like we have all seen that the class has become the class name in the JSX, and also the for became HTML4 in JSX. All the HTML attributes and event references like on click, on submit, on mouse over become camel case, just like this. On click became camel case. And similarly on inline styles, just like this we have done in HTML. But in the JSX it's quite complex. And we will discuss the styling part in the later part of this course. And I think this is all for JSX. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.